Well, once again, welcome to the KX Country Clubhouse. And joining you and me, I was going to start off by saying, hey, Stephen Lee Olson, but instead I'm going to go with, hey, Dad, how you doing?
That'd be the first time anyone's done that, man. I'm great. We're doing as well as we possibly can. You know, we've had a lot of things happen in a whirlwind of change, but all for the positive, and my heart is full.
All right, good stuff. Now, I'm not going to ask for specifics, of course, but have we decided on, or have we started the process of deciding on names? Do you know what you're having? Are you going to find out? All those things.
Oh man, we're gonna wait. We're gonna wait. We figure there's few surprises left in life, as they say, and we have a list of names. It's a short list for both, but we have started on that, which has been a lot of fun. You know, it's I write songs for a living, so trying to write cool lyrics is a lot easier than coming up with cool names, turns out. And for both of us to love the names too, it's been a lot of go fish.
Are you getting input from family members at all?
No, not at all. Because once you open that floodgate, Bob, as you know, so we're keeping that real tight-knit, not telling anybody names, nothing. They'll find out what name it is when it's born.
Well, congratulations to both Shannon and you. That's absolutely outstanding news. Talk about writing songs. I have an interesting, I think it's an interesting question to ask you. When athletes are playing whatever sport it is, confidence plays a role in their performance. So if they've had some success, they get more confidence, their play improves. So when you write a song like Blue Ain't Your Color, for example, and Keith Urban records it, big hit for him, award-winning song, that kind of thing, does that give you confidence? And if it does in your writing, does that confidence impact the next writing session, for example?
Really good question. Awesome question. Let's break that down into two parts. I mean, you know, having a blessing like Blue Ain't Your Color, for me was no overnight success. I'd already been here in town in Nashville, Tennessee for 11 years at that point. And if nothing else, it validated the fact that I was moving in the right direction, and that, you know, that song was my title, and it kind of came to me in a strange way while I was sleeping, and woke up for 5 seconds to write that down on my couch, and then I went back to bed. But it was validating in the fact that I knew how to write songs, and I knew what was good. And I guess my 11 years of schooling in Nashville made me go, okay, you graduated, you rung the bell. And then be, Grammy nominated on my first #1 I ever had was surreal, you know, with the artist that I moved to town essentially to become. You know, they called me Stephen Lee Urban for so long because I didn't have my own identity. And it was just, I was like, man, this Keith can do this. You know, he's from Australia. He's kind of left of center, not typical country. Kind of made me feel like I could do it. So the story was written better than I could have written it myself. And to answer the second part is absolutely, it gives you a confidence to know that, you know, I can write songs by myself now. And before that, it would be a challenge because you second guess yourself. There's no one to bounce ideas off of. So it's all, either you trust your instincts and your gut on it, or you just stop, you just give up. So I've been able to write songs by myself now for a while, and I like to think that I'm like the idea guy. I come into a writing session with 10 ideas started. And the confidence that usually we end up using one of them. So it's been a journey, but I would say confidence definitely has fed more hit songs, no question.
So I'd like to continue on that theme just a little bit, because I've heard your acoustic take on Blue Ain't Your Color that was used for the Bluebird documentary.
Yeah.
It was kind of interesting because when I was watching it on the side on the YouTube, it said another video of you performing that song said, Stephen Lee Olson covers Keith Urban's Blue Ain't Your Color. And I thought, really?
You know, it's funny when I see that. It's like, and it kind of gives, people don't understand that I wrote it. And it's cool either way. Honestly, even when they don't know that I wrote it and they're like, man, we love your version so much better. I'm like, thanks. I'm like, I don't even tell them most of the time. It's, but you know, that song was a complete blessing, and to have my second number one in the same year with Kit Moore was even more validating. They say the second one is harder than the first because, you have to prove it wasn't a fluke. So that was awesome to check off the list too, which, fed the confidence. And I like to think I'm learning a few things after 16 years here in Nashville.
So when you write a song that somebody else is going to record and potentially release, like for example, Keith Urban, Blue Ain't Your Color, I'm assuming he heard a demo of it and thought, yeah, that's a good song. I'd like to at least put a hold on it anyhow. So the artist has the ability to change it if they choose. Is his version rather relatively close to what he heard for the very first time?
Yeah, I think, for the most part, he sped his version up a little bit, and he changed one word, which is, I think it was in the second verse, if I was a painter, I wouldn't change you. I'd just paint you right was mine. And he said, I'd just paint you bright. So, I mean, when Keith Urban wants to change a word in your song, you let Keith Urban change a word in your song, and his take on it is beautiful, and man, it really spoke to people, which was all that I ever could have asked for. That song, when I was signed to Columbia in Nashville here, I made a full record, and Blue Ain't Your Color was on my record that never got to come out. So it was kind of like a bittersweet full circle, because when we wrote that song, we knew we had something special, and just the fact that it got a second chance at life with my favorite artist of all time was pretty crazy.
You mentioned this earlier about you were in Nashville, had been in Nashville at the time for about 11 years. And I'd like to, because how old were you when you went to Nashville? I'm guessing around 20 maybe, something like that?
Yeah, I wasn't old enough to drink yet, I know that.
Hey, I'm thinking about that from my perspective when I was 19. And
Yeah.
I'm not moving to another country, let alone another province. So what was the process that you went through that you said, all right, I know I'm young, but I'm going for it anyway?
Man, I always say I didn't know I couldn't do it yet. And it's when you have that young, fearless, I didn't really have a compass or a direction in life. I was too young to kind of have that, that comes much later for us men. We mature much later, unfortunately, and see the big picture. But for me, I knew I loved music. I knew I loved writing songs, and even though my songs were absolute shit at the time, I still was driven towards it, and I knew that Nashville was the place I had to be to learn how to write songs. And at the end of the day, that was my goal, was to develop as an artist in Nashville with the best of the best. I figured, the way that I'll be able to stand out in a sea of artists here is make sure your songs are tip-top, airtight, and you're singing about the right stuff in the same voice. Like, it took me a long time to find my voice and who I am as an artist, and I found that in the studio behind the microphone.
Well, everybody has to find their voice at some point. And I'm wondering, was there ever a time, so you're in Nashville, you've been there for several years, because I talked to Dean Brody about this several years ago.
Yeah.
It seems like every artist has a moment where they're saying, if this doesn't happen by the end of this week or the end of the year, I guess I'm just going to go home. And that happened to Dean Brody. He left and then got a call and said, you better get back here.
Yeah.
It's starting to happen. So did you ever have a moment where you doubted that it might happen?
Never. Honestly, for me, failure wasn't something that, I was measuring. It was I was measuring progress, and I was making it. Even if it was a small amount, slowly doors were opening, and I was making progress. I could tell my circles were getting bigger, my songs were getting better, people were starting to notice. And, I think it was, who was it that told me this? I think it was Ron Kitchener. He said, don't let your short-term greed get in the way of your long-term greed. And I've always kind of lived by that. Honestly, I knew this wasn't an overnight thing. I knew that, they called it a 10-year town. It took me 11 years to get a number one. So it's if I wasn't making money and call it successful, I'd still be doing this anyways, because it really is just, therapy for me.
I recently watched an interview with Paul McCartney, and he was asked this question about where did he get the ability to be this great songwriter, this great singer and performer. And he basically said that he grew up in a musical family. And when he was growing up, he was just taking in all this information.
Yeah.
And at one point when he got a little older, that information that he'd been storing over the years started to come out. So where did all this talent, where did all the information that you had inside you, where did that come from?
Man, I think it's a collection of all my favorite artists, and what really drives me, and it sounds crazy, but it's passion. No one can put in their 10,000 hours without that key ingredient, because otherwise it becomes work. And once it's work, you look forward to going home. No one looks forward to going to work. So I've always been able to keep this fun for me, and I always remain a student. I'm passionate about. Some people love model airplanes, and they dive into model airplanes for no reason, no rhyme. And for me, this is that. I stay a student, and I definitely don't claim to know all the answers, and I hope I never do, because it's what drives me. There's so many aspects to this art of songwriting, production, vocal treatments, and mixing. And it's unfortunately I can't just do the performing on stage. It's just not in my nature. I want to know all of it and be able to do all of it and play everything. And it's just part of me. I know that's why I'm here, and there's validation in that, and I'll do it as long as I love it. That's what I always say.
Well, songwriters, I'm sure, especially when they're on the road touring and even in recording, they're always looking for time to write songs. Well, if there's one thing you have right now as a songwriter,
Yeah.
it's time. So what are you working on? What's going on?
Man, we are, sorry I dropped my pick here. So we're actually looking at releasing a lot of new music really soon. I do write a lot. I write every single day, so the amount of songs that I have is daunting. I'm sitting on so many things that I just can't wait to put out. I just can't put them out all at once. So it's a curse, it's a blessing, but it's also what feeds the songwriting thing too. I write too many songs to cut them all myself. So when big artists want to come and cut them, it's a blessing. So I've been writing my tail off and producing and just kind of doing all of it. We built this home studio here in the house, and it's kind of my little safe work haven nest. I shut the door and I just go to town, and then when I'm done, I go downstairs and spend time with my wife, and it's life is good. The only thing I'm missing is playing live right now. We had a lot of festivals lined up back home in Canada, and I was really looking forward to it because it'd been a few years since I really did a bunch of them, and this one was looking really good. But I'm looking forward to getting back out now with new music, so it just gives us more drive, more purpose.
We're joined by Stephen Lee Olson in the KX Country Clubhouse. Just a couple of more questions there, Stephen.
Yeah, man.
Let you go. One of the things you said, I'm going to go maybe a couple of 3 months ago. You mentioned just before we started talking here about the things that you missed.
Yeah.
Canada. You also said the one person that you're looking forward to seeing the most is your brother. So
Yeah.
You had a chance to see him or not yet?
Oh man, no, I have had a chance to see my brother. He's he just had a baby himself, and he lives up in Chattanooga, and we got up there, and it was just incredible. I had baby fever like you wouldn't believe, obviously. Now he had a baby, right before us, so our children will actually be the same age, which is super cool. And my brother and I have always been really close. I have a sister that lives here in Tennessee as well. I don't know how I convinced them both to move here, but we all ended up here. My mom visits a lot, and now with another grandbaby on the way, I'm not going to be able to get her out of this house.
So I don't know that if anybody else has said this to you or not, but in Raised on a Good Time, you talked a little bit about, some of the crazy things that young people get up to.
Sure.
So, and having kids is fantastic, but there's payback coming, right?
I knew it, of course. I mean, it's the first thing that crossed my mind was, man, I hope my kids are easier on me than I was on my mom. Lord knows she's about 5'0", but she has taken a lot. I mean, holy crap, three kids on her own, and we're all a year and a half apart. So turns out we were all taking my mom's car just in different intervals of the night. I would take it from like 10 to midnight, return it with this much gas taken off. But my brother Sean and my sister were doing it too. So by the end of the night, the tank was like half. We should have like collaborated and been like, hey, it's my night.
So what's going on in the background there with all that stuff in there?
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, this is my, Shannon is a wonderful human being, and she inherited a lot of Superman nostalgia, stuff when she married me. So that's my Superman corner. My mom made that beanbag and took a lot of beans to fill it. So, but now it's a dog bed. We have 3 animals. We have a cat and 2 dogs. And when I work in here in the studio, they just lay there in the sun and just kick it. So I'm eventually, you see like a little Superman poking his head out right here.
Mm-hmm.
That's like not full size, but it's a big one. I'm going to hang it from the ceiling with fishing wire, and it look like he's flying, but one thing at a time. I figure I get to be a kid until I have one.
Stephen Lee Olson in the KX Country Clubhouse has been our guest. And Stephen, we wish you and Shannon nothing but the best, of course, and a healthy baby. And we just thank you so much for taking the time. And we look forward to hearing that new music coming our way.
Oh, it's coming real soon, Bob.
Here we go.
All right. Yeah, when I get a fresh rain and that backfield's just right, I hear them mutters calling, begging for 4-wheel drive. Yeah, when I just get paid, my back pocket's on fire. Damn right, I'll burn right through it like I do every Friday night. No matter how hard I try. Oh, I can't lie. I don't know how to pass it up. I can't stop. And it's automatic. I just can't let the time wait. I'm coming in hot. It's in my country DNA. No, I can't. No, I can't lie.